Oh, check that guy out. Oh, those are some moves right there. Now, did you notice the difference between the two film shots? So one was a bit flickery and one was really smooth in slow motion. So we're gonna talk about frame rates real soon. First off, let's talk about frame rates, or frames per second. Now, mobile devices, whether it be Android or iPhone, shoot in either 30 or 60 frames per second. Now you may be asking to yourself, what's frame rates and why is that important? When filming or shooting anything, what's happening in your film is it's taking photos. So every second it's taking either 30 frames per second, 30 pictures, or 60 pictures. Now why that's important is if you're doing slow motion. So the reason why you may want to shoot in slow motion is you may want to highlight certain areas of the exercise. So maybe things like shoulders are proud, hips are square, knees are out. You may want to put a title around the shoulders. You may want to put a title around the hips or the knees. So as you slowly go into the exercise, you can actually drop down some text and some footage in those appropriate areas. Now, if you were to shoot in 30 frames, it would be fine, but what happens, the footage will look something like this. So as you can see, the footage here is a little bit choppy or jittery. But if you were to shoot in 60 frames per second, what will happen is that those frames, because there are so many frames in that 1 second, when you slow it down, they don't get stretched as much. So it becomes a lot smoother. So let's have a look at the settings of your iPhone and Android right now. As you can see with the comparison, you've got 30 and 60 and they're at different resolutions. And again, don't worry too much about that, we'll talk about that later. I would suggest just keep it in 30 frames for now for any footage that you normally take, and when you want to go into slow motion, choose the 60 frames. The next one is grid lines, and grid lines are great. They position yourself in different parts of the camera. So on your phone, this is where to find your grid lines. As you can see now, I'm positioned in the middle of the frame. Now you can position yourself in different thirds. You can use the left third or the right third, upper third or lower third, depending on what you're doing. I'm using the middle right now, so if I wanted to, I could put some text to a certain part. Now you can see above me to my right, it's quite exposed, so I wouldn't put any text in this position here because the lighting is really highlighted. But I might use the couch, because the couch is dark, so I can put some text across there now. Whatever. Consider yourself doing an exercise within the frame. Now you'd want to position yourself potentially in the middle of the frame for the reason that you might want to put text later on. Now you might want to put text at the bottom, off the top, or off to the side. You also need to take into consideration where you're posting the footage at the end. Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram. Now they all have different frames, which leads me to my next point. Always shoot in landscape. Landscape's your best option because you can always crop down later on. If you happen to be filming in portrait, it's very hard for you to then manipulate it for later on, and you may be cropping right into the exercise and half your body is being shown and half the body is out of frame. Okay, so now let's talk about resolution. So resolution is the quality of the video that you film at. So you may be filming at 720p, 1080, or even 4K. In your devices now, especially the latest ones, most of them have 4K or ultra high definition. It may even look like something like this. So these are the numbers that you'll see in the settings of your iPhone and Android. What I recommend is to choose the highest resolution when you want to upload on Facebook or YouTube. Facebook is the worst, but YouTube's not too bad. So what it does, it actually downgrades the quality of your footage. So if you're filming in say 720 or 1080, it won't look at all as good as it would if you were filming in 4K or ultra high definition and then uploading it to Facebook. And the last setting to use is your exposure and focus lock. When you've locked in your focus point, what happens is that people that are walking behind you or objects that are moving around behind you will not then get into focus and you out of focus, what we call hunting. So it's hunting to see what's in focus. And the process for activating your autofocus and exposure lock is exactly the same for Android and iPhone. Let's take a look at how to do that. So thanks guys for watching. I've got a couple more videos coming your way, one in regards to the equipment that I use for filming, And the second one is around the style of what style you should be filming in depending on the workouts you choose. Alright team, until next time, stay groovy. Peace.